From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, air it out, ground and pound. Does it really matter whether or not Florida State has a true identity on offense? So far, so good in keeping everybody happy on that side of the ball. And an near impossibility, but folks wondering, what if Louisville, North Carolina, Florida State all end up undefeated in ACC play at the end of the year? Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. cptallybar.com. The website, you can always hit the QR code on your screen. It takes you right there. You can place your order online to go, but hang around, especially on Tuesdays, because all day long, tacos are the special. Beef or chicken, soft or hard shell, it don't matter. They'll treat you right over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. And then at 7 o'clock sharp, trivia night. Corey Clark, we're not going to ask where his status for that one. But he's been there, competing, battling, representing. Yep. You go out there, battle, represent you and your crew. And if you can't make it out for trivia, go in for bingo on Thursday night. Can't make it to bingo, come hang out with Jeff Cameron, Corey Clark, Tom Lang, assorted representatives of the Warchant banner at Corner Pocket on Fridays, 5 o'clock happy hour, 5 to 6. They usually linger a little bit more than 1 hour. But 5 to 6, that's the prime shake hands, kiss baby time. After that, Corey might have to, request to not make eye contact with him and go about your day. So.
And they have live music afterwards, starting around 8 or 8:30. They'll have can't remember who it is right now, but they will have live music on Friday night.
Not the Tomcats?
They're the next Friday. They're the Friday night before the Duke game, which, by the way, is the night game. So everybody's excited about that.
That is correct.
Not you, but everybody else.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm happy for everybody. I'm not happy for myself, but I think I'd rather just them to get the 8 o'clock. I mean, 7:30, 8 o'clock to me makes no difference in terms of, like, getting home at a better time. I'd rather have that extra 30 minutes to linger around the house and watch the rest of the 3:30 games before I report for duty.
Smart.
So,
good thinking.
That game, and then, I don't know, is it Clemson-Miami also up for grabs? I think one of them is going to be the 7:30 game on ABC, and then the Florida State-Duke game will be the other game. So there's two games vying for either the 7:30 slot on ABC or the 8 o'clock slot on ACC Network. So root however you want. But this weekend, I got my way. We get a nooner against the vaunted Syracuse Orange, who we spoke a little bit about to the coaching staff. Rocky Long, longtime San Diego State coach, which I tried to do some cursory research to figure out what the deal was, Corey. But he said like he was going to retire from coaching. And he left San Diego State. He was the head coach. And he left that job to take the defensive coordinator job at Syracuse. I think I saw something maybe about he didn't want to be a head coach anymore, like too much responsibility. Maybe San Diego State didn't have all the resources he wanted, but still.
But Syracuse does?
Bizarre. But he's the architect of that 3-3-5 defense, which, brings pressure from all sorts of different angles. Sort of NC State-ish a little bit. Maybe not as good of athletes, but it tricks some people up, but apparently not Drake May. So do that, Jordan. Carve them up. Show them that you're an NFL prospect. Not too worried
and even
about
that game was goofy. Like, I watched the condensed version of that game, and Syracuse not rattled him, I shouldn't say, but pressured him a lot and got into his face a lot. Got some sacks. I think Atkins said they're top 10 in the country in tackles for loss. Like, that's what they do. Yeah. They do create negative plays. They also gave up some monster plays, including one that should have been an interception, and it might have been a pick six. Instead, the kid does he catches it. It's going right to the DB's chest, and the receiver puts his left hand out as he's running away from it, somehow snags it, and then takes it 80 yards for a touchdown. Yeah. So instead of Syracuse intercepting it and maybe scoring with it, it turns into 7 points for North Carolina. But yeah, the Syracuse defense will, it'll create some chaos. You'll have some chances to make some huge plays against it, though. Their offense has been what's probably the most troubling for that team here lately.
Yeah. Against Power 5 opponents here, they beat Purdue 35-20, but they lost to Clemson 31-14, and then North Carolina last week 40-7. So
21 points total the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, not great. That catchy reference by North Carolina. Probably would have been topped by a Zaire Thomas interception had that stood.
Right.
But as we know, it did not. Thoughts on Adam Fuller talking about officiating? I like the way he handled it. He's like, man, I'm on to the next play. Which, shout out, Coach. That's the way I am. But that's not the way most folks listen to the show are. They want to, figure out. They want to get down to the bottom of this stuff, Corey. Why do we keep getting hosed on all these calls? He didn't really get a great explanation. It seems like Mike Norvell didn't either on that call. But they're going to keep coaching him tough, sounds like.
Well, yeah, but he did say, I basically asked him, what did Byron do wrong on that play? And he essentially said nothing. I'm going to keep coaching him the same way. I'm going to keep coaching him to play hard. Yeah. He did say, because he's a coach, man, this is how all these guys think. He's like, he did have a little wasted footwork before at the start of the play. But no, as he's there, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. And yeah, he did say Azarieh's catch was incredible, and that should have been the play of the day. That literally should have been the SportsCenter top 10 play. What's frustrating about that play in particular, though, because it's a bad call, man, and we can say get over the officiating, and I get it, and you still won the game by 22 points, so it didn't cost you the game. I really do think it cost you an absolute blowout win, where Rodemaker can actually throw some passes, Travius Jacobs, Hakeem Williams can get work. I think it cost you a lot of that, because I think, as Norvell said afterwards, that game's going in a completely different direction if that interception stands. I mean, I think in 3 or 4 more plays, it's 29-0, and that's a wrap. That's just a wrap. Virginia Tech's just going to try to rush through it and get home. They know the game's over. Instead, they got a little bit of life. You gave them some life, and the officials gave him some life. But yeah, he did say that he lets Norvell. He goes, he's an emotional person. And he said, I think his quote was something like, Coach Norvell is the one that talks to the officials, and in that moment, that was probably a good idea. Yeah. Meaning he was very, very unhappy with the call. He likes to go to the next play, but he was very unhappy with that call.
Health update, Corey. Give us a health update. What's going on with Johnny, Rob?
Yeah. Well,
Tatum.
First off, Aslan, don't tell me what to do. Secondly, just kidding. Johnny, what did you think about his answer with Johnny?
I don't know.
It sounded like he said, what's what he always says, we'll evaluate it as we go on throughout the week. But then he did say he could, I feel like he said to the point he could be on track to be back early this week. I think the most encouraging one was Bethune. Made it sound like, he said that Bethune, they're expecting him to be ready to roll, I think is the exact quote, here early this week. So it sounded like with Bethune, it was one of those deals where, they took a bit of a calculated risk, but thinking they could get through that game without risking him. And I honestly don't know. I don't remember him getting hurt. I don't know when he got hurt. Yeah. Obviously, it was the Clemson game, I guess, or maybe it happened in practice that we didn't see. But, the way he they took a calculated risk that they could sit him or keep him on the sidelines and get through the game without him. And they did. Robert Scott, I think they said, was on a play count. They got through him. He came out looking good, it sounds like. Didn't know about Jaheim Bell or Bless Harris as far as when you would expect them back. Jaheim played some, but I don't. And
they knew, right? He mentioned that they knew they were going to get really limited, if anything, out of Jaheim, but he appreciated just how hard he worked to be ready to even give him those 7 reps.
Well, then Atkins apparently was saying, not apparently, he did say, like, we got to protect the players from themselves sometimes. Jaheim's on the sideline wanting to go into the game. But he was on a play count. And I think, again, I didn't look at it. I think you said he played 7 plays.
Correct. Yeah.
You would think if he could play 7 plays on one Saturday, and he stays off it and continues to rehab and doesn't re-injure it, not stays off it, but continues to rehab and doesn't re-injure it, whatever it is. We're not at liberty to disclose. I think that you could go back and watch the Clemson game and see, but I don't remember. But you would figure he could play more this week. But I know there's probably, there's probably a sense or there's a chance that they might think, okay, we can beat Syracuse without Jaheim. We can beat Syracuse without Johnny. Maybe we give Tatum another week off too. I just don't know if they can play.
Yeah.
If they can play, especially because you want to get this. The offense rolling even more, but you also don't want to re-injure anything. So if they can play. If not, you'll hopefully see him against Duke.
I thought he introduced himself in pregame, like on the Jumbotron. I thought Tatum Bethune was like a starter.
Yeah, I thought he did too. Yeah, but then he wasn't, he was, I don't know that he played a defensive snap.
No, he didn't. That's a crazy thing. I didn't want to admit that I didn't realize that. I was watching the game. I just, that's interesting. But yeah, with Johnny, I don't know. I walked away, or I was still doing stuff during halftime. So I didn't, after the kickoff return for touchdown. So like I at that point I went ahead. I didn't want to deal with the crowds during halftime. So I waited for halftime to get over, watched the kickoff return for touchdown. Then I walked away from my seat. And then apparently, I missed Trey's touchdown mostly, but I also missed Johnny's injury.
Yeah.
And the condensed replay, I was just kind of scrubbing through it real quick. So I didn't see the full play of it. But it sounds like it wasn't like a joint. It wasn't muscle tendon related. So maybe
no,
it's
I mean, my thought,
protocol.
and again, it's speculation. I have no idea. My speculation was that he got knocked woozy.
Yeah, concussion protocol stuff.
Yeah, so I think that's what it was. And, that's
and
good and bad.
And he tweeted that he was straight or whatever,
He
right?
did. He did tweet that. That's good and bad, though, because those things, you certainly can't risk anything with that. And because he does take shots over the middle, man. He goes over the middle and gets hit. Now, you could just say, hey, for this game, you're just running goes. We're just going to lob it up to you, big guy. You're not nothing you do is going to be across the middle of the field, and you're going to have chances to make plays. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see, to watch as we move along. I don't necessarily believe they need Johnny Wilson to beat Syracuse, but I do think you need Johnny Wilson for this offense to run at peak efficiency. So, and Syracuse is not North Alabama. Like, look, yeah, you should beat this team without Johnny Wilson, but Johnny Wilson certainly helps you beat this team. So if he can play. But, you don't know, Willie Halstead got knocked out by LaMarcus Joyner in a practice in, when would that have been, 2011, I guess?
I think so.
It never really came back. Like, he was one of their leading receivers in 10, was coming into 11, big body dude that could run. They really thought he was gonna be a starter. He gets knocked out in August by LaMarcus Joyner and can't ever get back to. So the point being, these things can linger, and they're not something you want to mess around with. But the fact that he tweeted, "I'm straight," the fact that Norvell said, it's something we're going to watch throughout the week, but he didn't say he's definitely out or he's probably out, which Norvell probably wouldn't do that anyway. It just sounded like he was expecting that he would play. But again, it's hard to decipher with Norvell when it comes to injuries.
Shout out Darius Washington, ACC Offensive Lineman of the Week.
Yeah.
One of those. Also really cool tweet by his position coach, Alex Atkins, walking us through, I guess, the discussion that he had with Darius. The tweet reads, "The human version of 5 equals 1. Me," this would be Alex. "You starting this week?" Darius said, "Okay." Atkins says, "Don't you want to know where?" Darius says, "Do it matter?" Atkins says, "Bet not." Darius says, "Then why you ask?" My dog, 4 shish kebab emojis at Darius. So that was his coach tweeting about that.
What does the bet not mean? Because Brady says bet a lot too. In that context,
I think it's like bet or not, bet not. Because I know bet's like affirmative, right? Like, hey, man, 5 o'clock, we're going to go to this place. Like, bet.
That's why I didn't understand the bet not.
Yeah. I think like bet not. Like best not, better not.
Okay, all right.
One or the other. So, yeah, that's I wonder, it'll be interesting to see how he's integrated in practice this week, Darius, because I wonder if this was like I don't want to say flash in the pan, but, I mean, could he maybe be hitting some sort of stride where he, again, Alex said that they got 8 guys that they trust, they believe in, and they're all made aware before the game what their role is going to be. I wonder if Darius maybe carves out a little bit bigger of a role coming into this game based on his performance last week. Because, yeah, I mean, he was in the game, those opening drives where they just went down the field like they did the second half of last year. And then when and I don't want to say it was all because of Darius. I'm not trying to say he's Walter Jones, but when they started mix and matching, that's when some of the second quarter slowdown stuff happened. So that'll be something to maybe monitor here. But any other thoughts from maybe Coach Atkins, Coach Norvell, offensively from Monday's press conference?
I thought Atkins, I wrote a story about it. It's on the website. I thought he was good about the offense. I think it was you that asked the question about trying to find an identity, and maybe your identity is that you don't have an identity.
Yeah.
He basically said, yeah, man, we want to be an offense that if you take something away, we can beat you doing the other thing. And they are. I mean, look, I know it wasn't pretty at times, but they were able to do it. And I think that's what Folks, go watch that Clemson defense. They destroy teams. Like, that is not so. But my point that I was about to say was, because I know I could hear people rolling their eyes when I was like, well, they beat Clemson by throwing the ball. And you could argue, well, they had 17 points in regulation. All right, they beat Clemson. And they ran for 22 yards. Clemson completely took away the running game. Wake Forest did nothing. I didn't realize Wake Forest got the ball first down at like Clemson 7 after a fumble or a blocked punt or something and still couldn't score. That Clemson defense is the truth, man. That's a very, very good defense. So the point being, you beat Clemson that way by just throwing it up to your two good receivers, great receivers. And then this game you just played, you ran for 282 yards. So you went from 22 yards rushing to 282 yards rushing. LSU was mostly passing, but you ran enough. Southern Miss, you ran for over 300. In Boston College, you might have run for 200 if your quarterback doesn't get hurt and takes that element of the running game away. Either way, it is kind of I don't know how many other offenses are quite like this. That literally, and I don't think they want their running game to be taken away. And quite frankly, I don't think there's anybody left on the schedule that can. Certainly not to the extent that Clemson did. But man, if you are going to commit and say we're going to shut Trey Benson down, like Oklahoma did last year, we are shutting him down. Well, then you can give up 400 yards to this offense passing. And if you say we're not going to let Jordan Travis and these receivers beat us, we're going to play off. We're going to play zone. We're going to give up underneath stuff if they want it, but we are not going to give up big plays to these wide receivers. Well, Florida State, I thought, showed on Saturday they can march it down your throat anyway, even without the huge plays in the passing game. Like, I don't even know what their longest completion was. 20 yards? 18 yards? And they still put up 40 points. And as you know,
30,
this, Aslan.
Destin Hill, 30 yards.
There you go. Destin Hill. That was a great catch, by the way. I watched that replay again last night. I'm telling you, folks, that guy is legit. He's not been unleashed yet. But maybe with Winston Wright leaving, maybe with Jaheim still being
Limited,
maybe they go to against a team like this.
Yeah.
Maybe they go more to a slot guy, and you see what he can do. But Florida State is number 9 in the country in points per drive, and they are number 3 in the country in points per play, behind USC and Washington.
Is that good?
It's very, very good. And, I think we've lost sight of how good this offense is because it hasn't been incredible. It hasn't been, perfect. But obviously you look around the country, no other offense is. And they're not – I think they're like 42nd in total yards. Well, they're 4th in scoring offense, which is the one that counts the most. But they're 42nd in total yards. They're 45th in rushing, 46th in passing in the country, just in yardage and the old school stats. But that doesn't really – really dive into the numbers because they just don't have the ball a lot. They haven't run a ton of plays. So when you just do it by yards per play or points per play, they are an elite offense. And you have to imagine they are going to continue to get better because now, I think they're going to be able to run the ball more than they have through the first month.
Atkins mentioned it. It might have been a concern in the back of the heads of some of us, but just one football, all these guys.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I was thinking about maybe even writing a column about that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It just, we've made it this far in the season, quote unquote, this far. It hasn't been a problem, it sounds like. I mean, it sounds like they've embraced this sort of, I don't want to call it philosophy, but at least the teaching, the coaching, the leadership from the top down seems to be accepted and embraced by all these guys. Because, Keon's blocking his rear end off on a run play, maybe not getting the ball thrown his way as much as he would like. But there's no sense of disgruntledness right now, but I guess maybe it's because they're undefeated. But
well, and I don't know if they're behind the scenes if they are disgruntled or not, but I do know that he said this is one of those good offense problems to have. Like, there's always going to be a guy after a game or two that didn't perform, that either didn't get to play or didn't do much when he got to play, and he goes, but that's a good offense problem. It's like a first world problem. It's like we're so good that some really good players that expect to contribute didn't get a chance to contribute, and yet you still did what you still put up 40.
Is that true? Was that was that his first receiving touchdown of the year against Virginia
first
Tech?
2. He had 2 of them. Yeah, those were his first 2 of the year. I don't even know that he had one against Oklahoma. I think he had 200 yards without a touchdown. I could be wrong, but I think Mark Easton caught one. And then Trayshawn ran for 2. I don't think he caught a maybe Pokey caught one. I don't think Johnny caught a touchdown in that game. Yeah, he's not a big he hadn't been a big touchdown guy.
8 catches, 8 for 202. No tutties.
0.
No tutties.
So, yeah. So, I mean, again, when you look at this offense and the way it's currently constructed, you got to figure the running game is going to get back on track. It's also helps that you're playing, coming up. Maybe not the best defenses in the country. Certainly not Clemson. Duke will provide Duke's going to be a great test. And I'm not looking ahead to Syracuse. You guys know me. I'm a pessimist in the sense that I think they can lose to almost anyone. But if they get by Syracuse comfortably, that Duke game is going to be a really good test for them because that is a real defense, and that's a good defense, and they're going to be coached really well, and they're going to be coached to take away whatever your strengths are. The beauty of Florida State is, unlike Clemson, the beauty of Florida, like Clemson, you go into that game saying we've got to stop their running backs, we've got to stop their running game. Well, okay, you go into Florida State saying we've got to stop Trey Benson. All right, good. What about the 2 dudes out wide? What about the tight end? What about my man Desson Hill, who's about to go off? You might not have an answer for him. So that's the beauty of being balanced, like Florida State is balanced right now. Is I don't feel like you can take. I know you can't take everything away, which is why they've scored over 30 points in 11 straight games and why they've won 11 games in a row.
VitaminEnergy.com. Promo code is Warchant BOGO. Warchant BOGO. Buy one, get one free when you use that promo code over at VitaminEnergy.com. The first and only clinically tested, clinically proven, award-winning energy shot. You can find it at a lot of gas stations these days, convenience stores, places of that nature, but you can't take advantage of the buy one, get one free promo code. Focus Plus on the menu this week, Corey. I've been looking ahead past Syracuse, but the Focus Plus has got me zeroing in on the orange, and I'm sure the boys as well. Noon game, Doak Campbell Stadium.
Sellout. It's a sellout again. That's
what they said. They said. Take a shot with your breakfast. Carries you through the entire game. And then you can coast through the 3:30 games and you get home, watch the second half of those. All with a little tiny shot that you can carry with you anywhere. 260 milligrams of all-natural caffeine. No sugar crash. No sugar crash. Funny how that works. Beautiful marriage. Non-GMO, halal, kosher, made in America. VitaminEnergy.com. Noles at the control of VitaminEnergy.com. That's why they're hooking you up with that promo code. Shake it and take it. Give it a try, everybody. Buy one, get one free. Give it to a friend. Give it to a coworker. Never too early to get into the Christmas spirit. A little bit cold out there. A little bit chilly, Corey. Feels like Christmas weather to me. Maybe start doing some shopping. Give out some shots. Stocking stuffers. Can't go wrong.
There you go.
VitaminEnergy.com. Promo code WarChampBOGO. Shake it and take it. Defensively, we only really got... we do get Papuchas, so yeah, we can lump him in with Adam Fuller as well. I did want to ask Papuchas. I'll probably ask him next week. Him and Odell have the same amount of guys on the field mostly, right? They're pretty much 4-2-5. I think there were 6, maybe 7 defensive tackles that got into the game. Meanwhile, I think only 4 defensive ends.
Yeah.
But Gilbert Edmond, I think he said played maybe his best game since he's been here. Byron Turner, obviously, able to affect the quarterback despite the referees.
Yeah, he cheated and hit the quarterback too late and landed on him and should have been kicked out of the game for that.
Yeah. I wonder if Jaden Jones, who else could they possibly have to help? I don't want to say help out in terms of they're in desperate need of somebody to come in and give an infusion of production, but is this what they're going to end up having to roll with? And I guess is that good enough ultimately? Jared, Patrick, Gilbert, and then if Byron can maybe turn it on a little bit more.
Can you look up how many plays Briggs had?
Sure.
And I'll tell you
25.
why in a second. But
25.
How many?
25.
Okay, all right. So he played a little more than I think he had been. That's good. Maybe he's getting back because he was a force, man, to start the year.
Yes, he was.
And you haven't really seen him a ton. He hadn't really made any flash plays in the last couple of weeks. But he's if he can get back to what he was in the early part of the season, that's another weapon on the defensive line. And no, I would say right now it's those 4. It's those 4 that you're rolling. That's why it would be nice to get up by 50 or 40 in one of these games and see about a Dante Anderson or a Jaden Jones. Whether I'll always come back to, and it probably would have happened anyway. Rashad Green played against, I can't remember who that first game was against in 11. I think it was Charleston Southern. It was somebody terrible. And the first time he's on the field, he catches a touchdown from Clint Trickett. A really nice throw and catch, by the way. Before that, he hadn't played at all. It had been clear to me. Well, I can't say that. I only watched one practice in that August because that's all we were allowed to watch. But in that one practice, it was clear that 80 could be something special. But in that first game, it was the other guys on the team. Maybe it wasn't Halstead because he was out. Thanks, LaMarcus.
It was ULM, by the way. ULM, 34-0
okay,
win.
All right.
Yeah.
So when was that touchdown? Can you see that? It's fourth quarter, right?
Work with me here, Internet, as I shuffle on over.
Oh, my fault.
Yeah, that's fine. See, I go to ESPN. It doesn't even tell you the name of the person.
I don't know what you have against nolefan.org, but you need to go there, buddy. You need to live there.
I'm just more used to going right to ESPN.com. But anyhow, I'll
yeah, it's fine. I'm almost positive it's fourth quarter. Either way, Trickett was in the game for EJ because the game was over.
Yeah, Trickett replaced Ponder with 7:03 left, leading 27-0. Trickett fired a 28-yard touchdown to freshman Rashad Green on his first collegiate play.
Okay, well, I hope it wasn't Ponder because Ponder was in the NFL by then.
Manuel, I'm sorry, who started 6 games during his freshman and sophomore years when Christian Ponder was out with injuries, replaced by Trickett.
I was making fun of the writer thinking they messed up, but no, it was you. Yeah. It's fine. It doesn't matter, Aslan. The point, it's even a dumb point. I should just stop and not even make it. But I'll go ahead and finish it. Like, he goes, no matter what he's done in practice, it's like showing that ability in a game. Yet we always talk about the confidence it gives the player to go make a play in a game with the lights and lights on and people in the stands watching and the punting stats on the video board. To do that with all that stuff going on gives the player confidence. There's no way it doesn't give the coach confidence too. Like, okay, well, he can do it now. He can do it in a game. I'm going to trust him more. And that's why you want to get a blowout or two where Jaden Jones, Dante Anderson, Blake Nicholson can get more run. Some other guys, the DBs can get more run. And you can see what they are because you might need them later in the year. And that's why it's so frustrating about that penalty on Byron Turner, because it would have, I think that's where that game was going. But the point being, after Rashad made that play, then he's making the go-ahead touchdown play the next week against Oklahoma. And then the game after that, he's catching he's got almost 200 yards against Clemson. But I don't know that any of that happens if he doesn't make that play in the Louisiana Monroe game. I just think it instills both sides with a lot of confidence. So the point being, now Jane Jones is not Rashad Green. He's not the Rashad Green of defensive ends. But you might need a fifth guy. And it would be nice to see if you could roll one in before you need him, before an injury happens, and maybe give them some confidence if Jane Jones is having to play a big series or Dante Anderson's having to play a big series against Miami next month.
Well, anything else? I mean, I guess Jared producing, maybe, Papuchis. I think, Norvell mentioned it too as well Saturday after the game. I don't know how much of that was kind of trying to let the country know or us in the media or the fans know, like, hey, get off Jared for not producing. He's been playing well. But, I mean, the fact he was able to, finally get those sacks under his belt, surely you hope that leads to more. And maybe – I'm sure he was pressing too, right? I mean, he was so close against LSU. That Southern Miss game's kind of funky. Maybe doesn't, you affected the quarterback on an interception, but you didn't get your hands on him. Boston College ends up being a crazy game. Clemson, maybe they probably game planned to avoid you at all costs. So hopefully you talk about being able to perform in a game, these young guys. I mean, I guess for Jared, who's done it, just has to feel good to get back on the horse, and surely we hope that he continues that as they get this hellacious stretch of no more rest and having to play these teams back to back to back to back.
Well, it does seem it's not as hellacious as what Syracuse is having to go through, huh? Clemson at North Carolina, at Florida State in back-to-back weeks. That's something. But it also is going to help that Schrader when he gets moving is a load, but he isn't one of these guys that makes you miss in the pocket. Now you might fall off him because he's such a big kid, but he's more stationary in the pocket than anything they've played here lately. That's got to be fun because I think you've got kind of 5 in a row of quarterbacks that you aren't deathly afraid of beating you with their legs. I think Riley Leonard would be if he was 100% healthy. By the way, Cutcliffe said that he's progressing well. I mean, of course he's going to say this, and his season is not lost, and they think he'll be back sooner rather than later. So that's good news for Duke.
Well, in the meantime, they've got a redshirt freshman who played in 21 snaps last year against North Carolina A&T, and then a true freshman who enrolled in the spring, or who will be competing for snaps. So that
so I mean, I would imagine Cutcliffe is if Riley Leonard can play at all, they're going to play him. But if Riley Leonard is playing against Florida State, but he's on one ankle, well then, I mean, he can run, man. He's an athlete. He's a pretty big-time athlete. Well, that gets taken away if he's only playing on one ankle. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that could be 5 in a row. I don't think the Wake Forest kid is much of a
Mitch
runner.
Griffith's not really.
Van Dyke clearly isn't. Although I say that, my man ran down the Georgia Tech DB and pushed him out of bounds and saved a pick 6 and won the game for Miami.
Well, he got
that ended up being the game winner
because
his coach was smart and took a knee, and that was that. Great play there, Tyler.
They got Pitt before that, but Phil Dracovic is not even a quarterback any longer, so I don't even know who Pitt's quarterback is. Yeah, but to your point, that's 5 in a row.
That's what I'm saying. So that's 5 in a row where you're not worrying about this dude that's just some shifty, basically slot receiver darting around everywhere. So that'll help Verse too, I think. I just think it's I just think it's hard to rush at full speed, and he's not supposed to rush at full speed if the quarterback can get inside you, like inside that lane, and then all of a sudden it's a 12 or 15 or 30-yard gain.
Yeah, you don't want to run past the quarterback.
Yes, but I think
problem.
Now it's not as big a risk. It's a risk still because, like I said, if Schrader gets moving, as we saw 2 years ago, he had a couple long touchdown runs in that game. That's a worry. But he doesn't seem to be the runner that he was 2 years ago. He doesn't seem to be as willing to run. And there's also a chance after these 2 straight blowout losses that he might not want to sacrifice his body as much in what seems to be another certain defeat maybe in his eyes. I don't know. But either way, the point being, I think you're going to see an uptick in the production from Verse because, number one, he's really, really good, and he's been close. But also, they're not playing, basically a 4x1 relay team, which is some of those quarterbacks he had to play in the first month.
Yeah, man, Castellanos put Boston College on his back, beat Army at their own game in the elements. Man, it was incredible.
Man, who's the quarterback at UCF? Like he couldn't play for UCF. That kid,
John Rice Plumlee. Yeah.
I know the Plumlee kid's a crazy athlete too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, still, is he a better athlete than that kid? Yikes! But yeah, Boston College is 3-3, baby. That's 2 wins in a row. Now it was over Virginia and Army, but that's 2 wins in a row. And before that, they almost beat Florida State. Maybe BC's better than we thought, Aslan.
They might make a bowl game.
That'll end up being Florida State's best win at the end of the year.
Stop it. MyBookie.ag, promo code is Warchant. Use that for an instant cash deposit bonus when you sign up for the first time at MyBookie.ag. You can bet on futures, whether it's Heisman folk, Jordan still with the 5th shortest odds. Michael Penix still the odds-on favorite behind him.
I think you can say best odds.
I don't think that's the best odds, though. I mean, because when it comes
best odds is subjective.
Yes.
But I think that's how it's termed, as the 5th best odds. Where's Brock Bowers, by the way?
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th, plus 4,100.
All right, okay.
Penix, the odds-on favorite. Behind him, the defending Heisman winner Caleb Williams, then Bo Nix, then Dylan Gabriel, all ahead of Jordan Travis.
Did you know he ran for over 100 yards in that game on Saturday?
Yeah.
Dude's an athlete, man.
Still think Big 12 winner ends up making the playoff, though, as long as there's only one loss. I think if Texas avenges, if Oklahoma loses and then holds off Texas, I think they make it in, but I digress. Florida State, meanwhile, 17.5-point favorite here on MyBookie against Syracuse, which is, I mean, Syracuse is a whole touchdown better than Yeah. I wonder why that is. 56.5 the total points.
It makes you a little iffy about it because I would have thought it'd be in the mid-20s again, especially the way Syracuse looked against Carolina and Clemson, for that matter, offensively. I would have thought it'd be so what's the over-under?
56.5.
So 17, they're predicting like a, I don't know, man, like a 38-21 game?
Yeah.
37-20?
Yeah.
I guess that's basically what it was this past. I mean, I guess that makes sense. All right.
Interesting. Make your moves, make your plays. We'll offer up our picks for the week on Thursday's program. MyBookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Use that promo code WARCHANT for your instant cash deposit bonus. Anything else from the press conferences, Corey, that we didn't touch on? Otherwise, I wanted to move to a fantastical question, if that's such a word. Just kind of a
No, not really. I thought Norvell was nice about Winston Wright. Very complimentary of him. Said he loved that kid multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good question you asked. Said that he loved that. He loved him. Literally, I love that kid. That was the direct quote.
Yeah.
And I'll always be cheering for that kid. He also said he wasn't sure if he was going to continue on because he does have a year eligibility left. Yeah. Or if maybe he's done with football. And then you read between the lines when he's saying something because he's never going to drag a kid. But it sounded like it was Winston wasn't happy that he wasn't playing, and he's like, it's hard at Florida State. It's hard at Florida State. It's hard to get on the field at Florida State. And we want people that are all in. And I think the thought being, it's not good riddance, but I think the thought the thought there, what he was saying when he's like, we want people that are all in, is like, he understands that if Winston Wright is iffy on whether he wants to continue playing football or playing football for you, well, Florida State isn't a place where you can be iffy about football because it's just too hard. You've got to be all in. I think that was not like Winston Wright is selfish or he's not part of the team. It's like if his mind is like kind of back and forth on whether he wants to keep doing this, well, then this isn't the spot for him because it's just relentless. It's another 2.5 months for maybe not getting on the field and catching another ball. That's just a lot for him to deal with. That was the decision he had to make, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, I really feel like that, there's coaching tape of these players. Like, you want to show the players, like, what to do. I don't know if it wouldn't be good coach speak material, but, like, that was the best, like, most I don't want to say sincere because he's always sincere, but, like, he's never comfortable talking about injuries or players leaving the program. But he was extremely eloquent and comfortable talking about that situation, which was refreshing to hear. So, yeah, I mean, if people thought there was something amiss there, go and listen to that part of the press conference.
There certainly doesn't seem to be any ill will with Norvell towards Winston Wright in any way. Yeah. And, he talked about the journey, and it's just a bummer, man. Like, Winston Wright would have been Micah Pittman last year if he would have not gotten in the car accident. It may be more so. Like, he would have been Micah Pittman plus another 150 yards because he was a little more dynamic than Micah Pittman in the slot. He was going to be a big, big part of that offense. And then going into this year, he would have been an established part of the offense that maybe catches another 35 or 40 passes, is a chain mover, hits a couple big plays, and that just car accident derailed everything. He rehabbed his butt off for a year and a half, and then, it didn't materialize where he was going to be a real factor in the offense.
Wanted to address this very nice thought-out email from our guy, Brian. And we touched upon it a little bit on yesterday's show, but just the collision course in Charlotte, what's it going to be? Florida State, North Carolina, Louisville, undefeated. They do not play each other. And just the machinations that will go through this. So it's, obviously your winning percentage in the conference. Then the tiebreaker becomes combined head-to-head win percentage, but obviously these guys are not playing against one another.
Let's say let's go that they're all 8-0.
Okay.
Let's play that game just so people can do the math in their heads. They're all 8-0. They don't play each other, so they're all 8-0. Granted, that is probably not going to happen. There's a high probability it won't happen. But just for the sake of this explanation, they're 8-0, all of them.
It goes all the way to the fifth tiebreaker.
Yes.
Which would be combined win percentage of your conference opponents. So not your win percentage, but your opponents, based on their win percentage in the ACC. Now,
yeah, because your win percentage is 1,000.
So is everybody in this example.
Yeah, right.
So what it looks like is probably, I think North Carolina might be the odd man out because they play Virginia. And Virginia's not going to have a great conference record as one of your opponents. I don't think Louisville has. No, I take it back. They also have Virginia as well. Florida State has Pitt, but so do – I'm trying to figure the best way to discuss this. You don't want to have the worst teams in the conference as your opponents. Virginia seemingly is going to probably be the worst record in the conference. You don't have that. So Florida State is well positioned in this completely. And I'm not down. I'm not talking down to our guy Brian here, man. There's no way these three teams are both undefeated in conference play. You
wouldn't think, but also Louisville's schedule seems so easy that I would think they'd be the odd man out because they play Boston College and Virginia. Maybe Pitt. Do they play Pitt too?
They do play Pitt. So Pitt, Duke, and I had the other one on the tip of my tongue. We do have 3 common opponents: North Carolina, Florida State, and Louisville.
Okay.
So, golly, I can't find it. I think it's Virginia Tech.
Okay. So that Louisville's playing the bottom of the barrel is probably Virginia.
I'm screwing this all up.
You're killing us, Aslan. It doesn't matter. But the point being,
Miami. Final answer. Sorry, Miami, Pitt, and what was the other one I said? Corey? Duke. Those are the 3 common opponents.
Okay. Well, so Miami and Duke will both have, I think, pretty good conference records, unless again Miami just completely quits after that debacle. But
Mario owned it, though. You hear Mario he owned it even further on
Monday.
Monday.
Good, man. Own it. Great. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, we know you made a mistake, man. My mom knows you made a mistake. My dad has been dead for 12 years. He knows you made a mistake. It's ridiculous. But, yeah, so Florida State, they have played, Clemson will have a good record. Miami will probably have a good record. Duke could have a good record. I think they're in good shape because they don't play Virginia. Like you said. So, but look, we're getting way ahead of ourselves here. There's still 5 more conference games left.
Yeah.
The odds are that at least 2 of the 3 will lose a game, and maybe all 3 lose a game. I just think we're getting ahead of ourselves. What I love is what's the tiebreaker after that one, Aslan?
Let me pull up Brian's email back here.
I thought you had it already.
I know.
Okay, sorry.
There's different screens.
Oh, gotcha.
So rude.
Sorry, my fault.
They will go to the vaunted team rating score metric provided by SportSource Analytics following the conclusion of regular season games.
So that means if all the other tiebreakers, including the opponent's tiebreakers, are all like the opponent tiebreaker, let's say Florida State has the best one, so they're in. Now they're trying to figure out between Louisville and North Carolina. They go to and their opponent's tiebreaker, their winning percentage, their opponent's winning percentage is the exact same somehow. Then they go to what Aslan's saying now, which is what?
6th on the list. The team rating score metric provided by SportSource Analytics, which none of us, I don't think, have ever seen.
Right.
And we don't know right now.
Have no idea how they formulate a winning percentage, a ratings percentage. Don't even know anything about the company. Like, can't we not just go back to one of the computers, like the Harris poll or something?
Use the BCS. Though. There's somebody that still runs BCS formulas. Like, have them run it.
Yeah, just use that thing. Or have Fimrau hack out something. Have him put an X over a Y and then cube it. You multiply it. Whatever I do. But the cube it isn't how the phrase. It's been 30 years since I was in high school. But yeah, do something. But that or maybe it's up to Jim Phillips' discretion. He could take
just coin toss. Do it high school, man. Do it old school Southern high school, man. Coin toss at a convenience store between the 2 universities, man.
I can tell you this, like those last 2 tiebreakers aren't good news for Florida State because they are unknowns. Like the thing in the hat is a real thing.
Number 7. After that one,
number 7.
Representative shall be chosen by a draw as administered by the commissioner of commissioners designee.
Well, let me tell you this, folks. If it gets to number 7 and he's putting 3 slips of paper in a hat, he's going to have North Carolina on 2 of them and Louisville on the other. There is no chance my man Jim Phillips is pulling Florida State out of that hat after what happened in August with the Board of Trustees. So that is not going to happen. You do not. But the number 6 is a little shady too, because what's the background of this company? Right. What's their formula? What do we get to see the formula before they go to it? So yeah. But again, we know the likelihood of all this is about 1%. But it's
less than 1%.
It's good to know. It's good to know 1%. That what the tiebreaker is out there.
Whatever the win likelihood was for Miami with a minute and a half, this is even greater than that of not happening.
Right.
So that's that. All right, that's a wrap for us. Thanks for being here.
I wanted to say I had a little anecdote from this weekend that I forgot to share yesterday because that show was so long. Just real quick, Brady Clark's story. People seem to like that a little bit. So he was down this weekend with his friend and his friend's family. Jace is his friend and his friend in their family. So they got down on Thursday night. On Friday, I went to work out. They went over to the stadium to look around, because they went to school. Jace's parents went to Florida State, and they hadn't been back in like 20 years, 25 years.
A few things have changed.
Yeah, a little bit. So they go and they're walking around the facilities. They walk into College Town, and then they go over to the baseball field. They go to the the softball field, everything else. And they're at And Brady's showing him around like he runs the place, like he's the facilities guy.
Bernie Waxman.
He walks the daughter onto the softball field, and he's just saying things to them because I wasn't there. This was happening before me. He's just saying things to them like, yeah, you got to walk around like you know what you're doing, and nobody ever stops you. And I'm like, oh, man, okay, anyway. So they walk over to the Bowden statue, which is where the Moore Center is. People that have been to the Doak Campbell Stadium, it's where the Moore Center is. It's the entrance to the Moore Athletic Center. And they're going there so Brady can show them, the Heisman trophies, the national championships, all the things that's in the museum. And that's when who's the recruit, the big defensive line recruit that was L.J. McCray? Is that his name?
Correct.
So they're walking in, and Brady keeps up enough with Florida State to know that he's on a visit. So they're walking in, and all of a sudden, Jace's dad goes, I think that's Mike Norvell. And they turn around, and Mike Norvell is shouting, there he is. There's the guy. There's the man of the hour, because L.J. McCray is being driven up on a golf cart. So they all get out. They dap LJ and Mike, and they exchange pleasantries. Meanwhile, Brady and this family of four are standing there by the Bowden statue watching it all. And then the doors open up because they're welcoming LJ McCray into the building. And Brady's like, come on, let's go. So he walks in with them. And he walks in just to go in to look at the sights and everything. And one of the greeters was like, oh, I think they thought, I don't know how they would have thought this, that maybe this was another recruit's family. They're like, oh, yeah, come over here and hang out to the right. And so they all go into the right. Norvell walks in with McCray. The whole football staff is there, and they give him a rousing standing ovation on all three levels. So it's like it's like Brady's a part of the official visit. And then Norvell gives a 5-minute speech to McCray and his family about what it means to be a Florida State Seminole. And Brady Clark and these people are just sitting there watching this. And it's just like, man, he just Forrest Gumps his way into so many scenarios that don't make any sense. But you're not supposed to see that. You're not supposed to see what Norvell is telling one of the best recruits in the country in his stadium the night before a game, but or the day before a game. That's what, and I didn't know any of this. So I was like, man, I'm going to be the cool guy. I'm going to take them to baseball practice because Jace is a baseball player like Brady. You get to watch Florida State practice. They're open. Supposedly they're open anyway. Another story for another time. And so we go into the stadium, we're watching, and then they're telling me all this, what Brady did. And I'm like, well, this is great, man. Like, hey, y'all, are y'all enjoying your fall baseball that I made happen for you? Meanwhile, my son got you on an official visit with a football player in the football stadium. It's just like, so mine paled in comparison to what Brady showed him. So I felt kind of like a letdown. Brady was the one that showed him the good time. But that's how Brady lives his life. And he got good at beer pong apparently this weekend.
Okay. Didn't he end up in the luxury boxes at Truist and bumped into Larry Jones for a little bit?
He did. Well, he didn't end up there, Aslan. I bought those tickets.
Oh, okay.
That was his dad, but I told him to go to the bathroom, and he comes back with a selfie with Chipper Jones. Because of course he did. It's just what happened. He's been on the video board 3 times. It's just how he lives his life.
It's that hair, man. It's amazing.
The hair, you saw it. It's out of control.
Brady,
it is
out
of control.
Live your life, Brady.
And I should specify, because I know his mom listens to this. He was drinking water out of the red cups.
Okay.
He was literally, him and Jace were actually just playing the game. They were not chugging a beer at the end like some people do when they play beer pong.
All right, so yeah, they're Department of Children and Families, DCF, chill out.
Guys,
chill
come
out,
on. Come on.
Chill out,
yeah. It's Corey Clark you're talking about here, man. I don't subject my kid to that.
All right, let's go watch practice, Corey.
Let's do it.
Seminole headlines 1 at 3 o'clock. Corey, Ira, Jeff doing the thing. Tune in. No hour number 2, but go back and listen to the one from last week.
Right.
It'll carry you over. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.